Hi, my name is Chanel, and today I'll be going over my NAB, National Association of Broadcasting, show recap. I'm super excited to get into this with you guys. A lot of you know me as a video editor, graphic designer, and most recently content creator, but I happen to have a pretty good background in live broadcasting. So I was really excited to go to this conference. When I first heard about it, I was a bit younger and it was Vegas, so those two things together made me pretty hesitant about going. But this year I received an invite and a nudge, so I'm super excited to share my NAB experience with you all. So here's my entire NAB recap. I'll be going over my day by days, my favorite booths, favorite updates, and tips for next time. So let's get started. Day one started with me driving into Vegas. I'm always up for a good drive and the scenery was beautiful, so absolutely no comments there. One issue I did end up having was that when I arrived to the conference, I didn't know that the conference lot was full. I planned on parking there and it was full. So after circling the block a few times, I ended up finding parking. I do wish that there was some sort of app notification sent out to let people know when the conference lot filled up and to find alternate parking. So that was a pretty small issue, but aside from that, what you need to know about the conference from this point going forward is the layout. There were three main halls: Central, North, and West. Central and North Hall were basically cousins. They complement each other really well. Central Hall is where you have gear and build. So Sony, Nanlite, Aperture, Tilta, Canon, all of the brands we know and love resided in Central Hall. Central Hall also had the Creators Lab, which I spent most of my time at. North Hall was the other side. So this was editorial, production, and transfer. Adobe, Advid, Blackmagic Design, and companies of that nature resided in North Hall. West Hall was a different story. Get it? Like West Hall was a different story? Okay. Anyways, West Hall was different because that's where networking and AI-driven companies lived. AT&T, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft, and other additional AI-centric companies resided there. So I didn't spend too much time there, but what was interesting was that the sports theater was in West Hall. I didn't really get that. I kind of thought it should be in Central Hall alongside the Creators Lab, but that's just me. Anyways, back to my day. So day one started with the First Timers Meetup. It was an amazing experience, and this is where I met a lot of great people. I highly recommend going to the morning meetups. This is where you'll meet the people who you'll spend most of the conference with. One organizer from the NAB said that this is the first time they're doing these morning meetups, so I hope that they continue to do them because I enjoyed it a lot. After that, most of the day was exploring and mostly in Central Hall. After doing a lot of exploring in Central Hall, I went over to the Adobe Lab to create some content with them, and I was able to catch some of Shawn's color mode experiences. I highly recommend trying color mode if you haven't already. It's in Premiere Pro Beta and it seems really, really cool. I'll talk more about it later. But anyways, after that, my last session was in West Hall, which was pretty convenient considering the lot I parked my car in was also near West Hall, so that was nice. The session was focused on the women's sports industry. I thought that was great, and that was one of my favorite sessions from the day. After that, I got food, checked into my hotel, and got ready for the Amaranth Creators Meetup. I unfortunately don't have a lot of footage from this, but they had it at the In-N-Out, so everyone got free food, which I thought was really cool. It was super laid back, and this is where I met a lot of people who I spent the remainder of the conference with. After that was the School of Motion Designers Meetup. This was super cool because it was great chatting with motion designers and talking with the Adobe After Effects team. After that, it was time for me to go to sleep and get ready for day two. Day two started with another morning mixer. I really enjoyed this one as well. As I've said, it's really important to go to these morning mixers. This is where you'll meet great people. I did a lot of drop-ins that day, primarily at the Creators Lab. Really enjoyed a lot of the sessions I visited there. Most of the conversations were about setups and workflows, and a lot of camera or audio. If you had to fix one, which would you fix first? Conversation. What was interesting though was that this was brought up a variety of times. Maybe it was because I was at the Creators Lab a lot, maybe it was the time of day, I'm not sure, but this was a really big topic that day. My personal opinion is that it depends on the platform. If your primary platform is YouTube, then audio matters more. Most people can get past iPhone quality, but if your audio sounds bad, then that's a bit of an issue. But if your primary platform is Instagram, then camera matters first. Multiple individual studies from sites and providers like Verizon, PopSugar, and ShareThrough all noted that throughout the users that they surveyed, over half of them watched videos on mute. This is why captions are important, but that's another story. But anyways, after that, I spent a lot of time talking with the Aperture crew about the new Sidus Link updates. Super cool and a great way to learn about lighting and to plan out your shoots. So I'll be playing with that a lot in the next upcoming days. Another good drop-in was at Blackmagic. Although I don't edit on DaVinci, I'm very familiar with their broadcasting equipment, so it was really cool seeing all of the equipment they had spread out in one place. I learned a lot about film processing, which was pretty unexpected, and I was also able to see some of their new features live. I'll get into those a little later. The night of day 2 was the B&H Creators Party. Very large, but also very fun. And it was hilarious seeing that sort of venue with tilted NAM light, Canon, and Atmos signage. After that, it was time for me to go to sleep and get ready for day 3. Day 3 started off at the Creator Labs, and I did more exploring throughout North and Central Hall. I did stop by the Adobe booth again and chat with the Frame.io team. I did have some product suggestions, so hopefully I hear some motion back on that. After, I went to the Godox booth and listened in on the Girls Just Wanna Load Trucks panel conversation. It was amazing hearing their experiences and their inspiration. What was interesting too was that although I don't spend a lot of time on set, I did notice a lot of through lines with being a woman in the media space. It was harder growing up with it, like trying to explain to people what I do, what I know, and some of my advice getting twisted a bit, and being younger also didn't help. But over time, as I got older and my environments changed for the better, I've experienced less of those kind of things. And life's been pretty good. I've been having a lot of fun recently, meeting new people and doing new things. So that was my entire NAB day-by-day experience. Now, just to clarify, the conference was 5 days long, but I only stayed for 3 days. Okay, we're starting off strong with B&H. Their section was absolutely huge. They had 2 camera setups, sessions throughout the conference, and smaller sections within their larger section for setups like camera, audio, key grip equipment, and so much more. Also, an entire podcast booth. Crazy, right? Sony's section was also insane, and I think it was the second largest booth behind Ross. Anyways, Sony's was super immersive and very conclusive of all the products they offer. Now, I usually only think of Sony as cameras or a CCU, and I sometimes forget that they have actual TVs, monitoring equipment, have their own cloud-based media filing system, AR systems, and so much more. Most of these things were on display, and I loved it so much. Anytime anyone asked where I would just say I'm at the Sony World, because that's how big it was. Now, speaking of world building, Fujifilm also had a super cool section. It was smaller than the other sections I mentioned, but I thought it was super cool that they had this entire cafe set up, and you could play with their cameras and their framing within that. SmallRig and Total were also great. They had cool car rig setups and pretty cool displays as well. Updates that stuck out to me. What's this? It's the NAB show daily. They passed this out daily, and it has kind of some cool stuff in here, mostly about great stories, exhibitor spotlights, and some industry updates. Now, as you can probably guess, most of the industry updates have to do with broadcasting equipment, but I'll be going over updates that stuck out to me that aren't really about broadcasting, but probably pertain to you. So, starting off with Blackmagic. Now, as you may have heard, DaVinci Resolve 21 supports photo editorial and culling. I just thought this was really cool, and like I said earlier, I don't use their systems, but if you're already familiar with it, then I see how the photo editing system is pretty intuitive. Another cool update from DaVinci was the AI sign focus. Like, you're telling me you could change focus within a video clip? Crazy. Adobe, my loyalty resides with you. Adobe released the new color space. Adobe released the new color mode. an entire new different space for color correcting and editorial. I was in the beta group for the color mode, and it was so cool hearing all of the updates and tweaks that they gave it before it went to public beta. Amazing. I definitely need to use it a bit more to get a conclusive overview of the entire space. It is very different from the Lumetri color panel, so there is some adjusting there, but I'm really excited to try it out. Adobe's second major update was the new object masking feature in After Effects. They already released one in Premiere Pro a couple weeks ago, but the After Effects one is supposed to replace rotoscoping. I do think it's really cool that Adobe is working on making that process easier, and I've also noticed that Adobe is noticing, possibly, maybe, I'm making up conspiracies here, but I feel like Adobe is noticing what video editors are using After Effects for and putting variations of that in Premiere. Now, what am I talking about? It actually all started with the film impact effects and transitions. I love all of the updates, and I think it's really, really cool that it's in Premiere Pro now. Next thing was the object masking tool from After Effects into Premiere to make that process easier. Very interesting to see the dynamic shifting between After Effects and Premiere Pro. I am curious to see what Adobe does next to continue to build on After Effects and Premiere Pro as video editorial systems to make editors' lives fun and easier. So, the following updates I'm about to give, I have absolutely no business talking about. This does not concern me at all, but I just thought it was really cool. First up on this list, GoPro. Now, GoPro released the new Mission 1 line of professional 8K and 4K open gate cameras. It also features this really cool micro 4/3 lens system with interchangeable lenses. As I've said, I have absolutely no business needing this at all, but I think it's really, really cool and interesting to see that GoPro knows their audience and they're expanding within the space that they've created. I think it's great. Next up, Riedel and Ari are getting married? Yeah, Riedel is acquiring the Ari system. I think it's really cool and a very, very interesting play for them, right? They complement each other well asset-wise, considering Riedel makes communication and networking systems, while Ari creates camera and lighting, so you kind of could build a set with them both. Do I think this marriage is gonna last? Yes, and I'm kind of excited to see where this goes, even though, as I said earlier, I have absolutely no business talking about this at all, and it probably isn't gonna change any part of my life. Next up, things that don't matter to me and probably will matter to you if you live in the US. DJI just dropped a new line of beginner-friendly drones, the Little X1 and Litto 1. They both have a really good ISO range in comparison to the Mini 3, both shoot in 4K and has built-in storage. I just thought this was super cool. So, my notes and prep and tips for next year for you and for me. I've learned that I probably should not drive over to NAB, and I should probably fly, and I should just bite the bullet and spend a couple nights on the strip. My hotel was off the strip, and it's usually the hotel I go to when I'm staying in Vegas. It has a full kitchen, full bedroom, great views, but transit-wise, I kind of see I should probably just stay closer to the conference, and I advise that for you as well. It cuts out the parking hassle and the fees that come along with that, so it kind of really makes everything easier. Next is the size. Know that the halls are huge and they utilize all of the convention center space. So if you're going to a session in West and then trying to get to another session right after in Central, you're probably not going to get there on time, so just be sure to plan accordingly. Walking in the first hall on the first day, I felt so small. It was so big. But it was nice knowing that there was tons of room for opportunity and it was a playground for creativity. The best thing ever, honestly. This is 100% the type of conference where it's less about going to the scheduled sessions and more about meeting people and hanging out with your favorite brands at their booths. Now, a lot of the brands had their own mini sessions within the conference, so you have to go to the booth to locate their schedule for the conference. Some of them had a daily schedule, while others had scheduled for the next couple of days. So just be sure to check that out. I do wish there was an easier way to see it, like some sort of feature on the app, but until then, just be sure to go to the booth and check it out. There's actually a lot of food options at the convention center too. if you're like me, I ate in the morning and then had snacks throughout the day and then ate dinner at the end of the conference. So if you're like me, be sure to bring a lot of snacks, because there weren't a lot of snacks offered, but there was a lot of food and meal options offered, if that makes sense. Concerning caffeine, which is really important to me, there was a lot of coffee carts located throughout the entire conference. Backside was giving away free coffee in Central Hall, and there was a couple other companies giving away coffee in West Hall. So just be sure to check that out along the way. They also had beverage passes that you obtain by going to the morning or evening mixers, and you can use these at the bar. But the primary use that I used them for was for free coffee in the morning. So just be sure to stock up on those passes if they do it again next year, so you can get free coffee in the morning. My personal caffeine intake for the conference was a Celsius, coffee throughout the day, and the Liquid IV plus caffeine powder mixes. Highly recommend them. Super cool and a great way to stay hydrated as well, which is very important. Be sure to drink a lot of water throughout the conference. They did have water refill stations primarily upstairs, so just look out for that. Concerning the crowd, it was a mix of everyone. There were a lot of broadcasting execs, but also a lot of creators. As I've said multiple times, be sure to go to the mixers and meetups, because this is where you'll meet your closest friends and meet your people. I'm also the type that needs a recharge, so after the conference day, between 6 and 8 p.m., that was my hotel and dinner time and my rest time. So that's very important. Be sure to make that a point throughout your conference session, even if it's just to take a walk around the hive between the sessions.
I'm glad I took off one day in the middle and just hitchhiked around the hive.
You did come back different.
Because socializing with everyone every day for a minimum of 3 days can be a bit emotionally taxing. So just be sure to take your break. NAB was an amazing experience, and I'm so happy I was able to attend. It was insane seeing a clash of my worlds, live event broadcasting, and creator streaming coming together at this conference, and I enjoyed it so much. Major thank you to Shawn and the Adobe Video team for the invite, Miles for the VTS, and Christopher for being a friendly face and guide throughout the conference. I loved meeting all of the talented creators and individuals that I met at this conference, and I look forward to attending next year. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you later.